For over a century, Bisto has been more than just a brand. It is the aroma of Sunday dinners, the smell that drifts from kitchens on cold winter afternoons, the shorthand for family, comfort, and tradition. Introduced in 1908, Bisto was designed to solve a very British problem: how to make gravy fast, consistently, and deliciously, even when ingredients were scarce. In the early 20th century, households faced long working hours, rationing, and inconsistent food supplies. Bisto provided a reliable shortcut, a way to make a roast dinner feel complete without the long hours of stirring and stock making. Back then, Bisto was revolutionary. It offered the promise of home-cooked flavor without the labor. It wasn't pretending to be anything other than a convenience product, but it delivered on its promise. For decades, families trusted it. Mothers and grandmothers bought it knowing it would work. Children grew up associating that brown aroma with Sunday, with family, with warmth. The brand didn't just sell gravy, it sold a ritual, a cultural experience. Its marketing reinforced that feeling with wholesome imagery, smiling children, and the tagline, "Ah, Bisto," a phrase so ingrained that it entered the language of the nation. But what happens when convenience turns into complacency? Over time, Bisto became less about cooking and more about engineering. Modern Bisto granules and powders are a far cry from the original. Today, the ingredient list reads like a chemist's notebook rather than a family kitchen. Salt comes first, followed by maltodextrin, artificial colorings, thickeners, flavor enhancers, and stabilizers. Meat, if listed at all, appears near the end, often as meat extract, a term vague enough to conceal the fact that the actual meat content is minimal. The majority of the product is designed to imitate richness, not to provide it. Every granule is engineered for uniformity, long shelf life, and predictability, stripping away the depth and complexity of real gravy. And this is where the betrayal becomes obvious. Bisto was never just a product, it was a teacher. Generations learned to expect a certain flavor. Children grew up believing that gravy should taste like Bisto, not like what comes from the roasting tin. The brand conditioned the nation to accept engineered flavor over natural taste. That's the genius and the tragedy of its success. People now mistake imitation for authenticity. The history of its production highlights the slow shift from quality to convenience masquerading as tradition. Factories moved towards mass production. Recipes were reformulated multiple times, each time reducing actual meat content, increasing starch, and adding more salt to compensate for flavor loss. The result? A product that looks, smells, and superficially tastes like the Bisto you remember. But it is fundamentally different. The richness, the savoriness, the connection to the roast itself has been diluted into a processed powder. This isn't just a matter of nostalgia, it's a matter of food literacy. The majority of Bisto users are buying into history rather than reality. They're trusting a legacy rather than checking labels. One tin of Bisto today delivers far more salt than your body needs, and the rest of the flavor comes from stabilizers and chemical enhancers. It's a classic example of a product trading entirely on heritage, while failing the consumer in both nutrition and authenticity. Contrast Bisto with homemade gravy. In 5 minutes, anyone can stir fat from the roasting pan, a spoon of flour, and stock or meat juices into a glossy, rich, deep-tasting sauce. It requires no powders, no additives, no E-numbers. It's natural, it's quick, it's genuinely satisfying. And yet most households don't make it anymore. Why? Because for decades, Bisto convinced them that real gravy is complicated, that lumps are inevitable, that failure is only avoided through a granule. And it worked. Millions of families still buy Bisto every week. The marketing, nostalgia, and convenience keep the product alive, even though the taste of real gravy has been largely forgotten by the younger generation. The ultimate irony is that Bisto, a brand once celebrated for helping families cook good food quickly, has become the standard for inauthenticity in British cuisine. People taste it and think, this is how gravy should taste. They've been conditioned to accept this artificial flavour as normal. Bisto's story is a lesson in slow, incremental decline. Unlike a scandal that wipes a brand off the shelves overnight, Bisto quietly engineered its way to mediocrity. Each minor recipe tweak, each addition of stabilizers or colorings, each reduction in real meat content was justified by efficiency, shelf life, and profit. And because each change was subtle, the public barely noticed. By the time the gap between expectation and reality became apparent, millions had already internalized the artificial taste as standard. This is the betrayal of heritage. Bisto didn't just change its product, it changed a culinary culture. It replaced real, handcrafted gravy with a standardized, engineered shortcut. It convinced generations to accept a lesser product while wearing the badge of tradition. And yet, because nostalgia and trust are so powerful,